All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the TO Show. We have an awesome guest with us here today. One of my, high school teammates, good friends. It's been a while since we've talked here. We have Bo Bauer, as some of you guys might know, here on the TO Show. Matty Bo, how you doing today, brother?
I'm good. How are you, Tio? Nice to see
Awesome.
you. Thanks for having me on, man.
Hey, no problem. We haven't talked in a while. I figured we kind of catch up here and kind of see how things going. How was your guys' season? You guys did kind of ended off on kind of a bad note, but you guys had, a relatively good season, and just kind of go in depth on how the season went and your new head coach.
Yeah, man. At Notre Dame, we had a pretty good season. The standard's always undefeated season, go for a national championship. But overall, we play a lot of good competition, and we, started to excel in the second half of the season after our loss to Cincinnati. So really just some growth from the team over that time. And, the program's kind of been through some ups and downs now with our head coach, Brian Kelly, leaving. And just some other coaches leaving, so it's really been a big change for us. But overall, I've really embraced Coach Freeman as our head coach, and I think it's going to be a good thing for us.
Awesome stuff. I saw the kind of the viral video of him kind of walking in. How was that moment? Was it kind of like a surreal moment? It kind of seemed like everyone was kind of jacked up, and also your guys' offense coordinator who decided not to leave and kind of decided to stay. It seemed like all you guys were kind of jacked up. Is that kind of emotion kind of real throughout the team, and how you guys feel about your guys' new coaching staff?
Yeah, I actually think it's real. Coach Freeman, he's always been my linebacker coach for the past year. So I've been really fortunate to have been close with him for such a long time. And, he's such a good guy, and he, really seems to care about you. So when I kind of heard that he could possibly get that shot, I was pretty excited. I know a lot of guys on the team are, pretty fond of him, even on offense. He's got a lot of good connections with the players. And so, what actually happened was they called us in, and we thought we had a team run at like 7 a.m. So everybody's showing up. We're ready to run, got our cleats on. And then our head strength coach, Matt Bayless, brings out Coach Freeman. You saw him introduce him. And so I think overall that was pretty real, pretty raw emotion. Because we weren't told yet, and Coach Freeman wanted to make sure we were like the first ones to really know. And I think the team really appreciated it and, embraced him as the head coach in that moment. And from awesome. Tommy Reese, he's the guy. He's a Notre Dame guy, he's a Notre Dame quarterback. He's been through it, and he kind of makes a great connection too with the guys. He's pretty young, but he's got a big future ahead of him.
Yeah, awesome. Kind of, Matty Bo, kind of talk a little bit about viewers who kind of don't know who you are. Just talk a little bit about your path to Notre Dame and kind of growing up in Erie or Harbor Creek, and kind of just kind of your pathway to Notre Dame.
Yeah, so I'm from Harbor Creek, Pennsylvania, outside Erie, Pennsylvania, semi-small town city in Northwest Pennsylvania. I lived there my whole life. My father and his father before him lived there their whole life. So it's kind of been a lineage there. Grew up out in Harbor Creek, kind of out in the country, and moved into the city to go to Cathedral Prep here with T.O. We won some state titles there, and we had some success in the field, and eventually got the opportunity to go to Notre Dame. I played my first 4 years, and, thanks to COVID-19, I get a fifth year now. So I've been fortunate enough to play in all the games there, actually going this year to break the all-time game record at Notre Dame, beating 61. So I've been really fortunate, kind of capitalize on all my game opportunities, and keep playing some middle linebacker for the Fighting Irish.
Awesome stuff. You kind of been able to kind of embrace your role at Notre Dame. I think you kind of do it really well, kind of the hard-nosed work ethic that you've kind of had all your life. How do you think that kind of made you kind of want to choose Notre Dame? Because Notre Dame, you might think of like the student, the smart person, but kind of when you think of Notre Dame football, you kind of think of the hard-nosed, like power football. Kind of what made you want to kind of commit and decide? You had pretty much anywhere you could have gone to across the country practically. What made you want to go to Notre Dame?
Yeah, so when you're coming out of high school, you really don't know anything. And I was just fortunate enough to be surrounded by a lot of good people who kind of encouraged me to make the good decision. You know, my parents, Coach Mishler, Coach Cray, those guys kind of were like, this is a big opportunity. It's good. And you always kind of hear how Notre Dame's different. And for people on the outside of that, it's kind of hard to understand. But Notre Dame, if you come in and you let Notre Dame change you, you're going to be a better person on the other side. It's very difficult academically and athletically. And the combination of those two together is a very hard thing to do. But once you make it through it, you know, it's really grows you as a person and it makes you a better overall player too.
Awesome stuff. Do you think, how would you say the, being able to kind of, you're a student athlete, you know, you probably have gone, you know, probably outside of Stanford a little bit, you guys are kind of like the top of the cream, whether it comes to athletics and academics. How do you are able to manage that at such a kind of a high level? Because like at the Ivy League, the football side of things is not quite as rigorous, and you guys are a top 5, top 10 program in the country. How are you able to kind of manage for all the student athletes out there, able to manage it at kind of the highest level?
Yeah, you know, there's so many different levels to what you're talking about, but first and foremost, it talks to being surrounded by good people. So you need people who are going to encourage you to make the hard decisions and, you know, support you through those hard decisions. So choosing the hard major, choosing, you know, to stay extra in the weight room. But that support is meaningless without, you know, good time management skills. And so one of the things once you come in here that you really have to learn is, how am I going to manage my time most effectively? And, you know, when you're young, especially, you wake up in the morning and your day is about booked until 8 o'clock at night. And then you do your homework and go to sleep, and you wake up and you do the same thing again. So it's being able to be consistent in your approach and being able to be consistent in that time management, which it's easy to say now, but we just had a bunch of mid-years, 20 plus mid-years come in right now, and I'm seeing it in their eyes, you know, the same thing that I was 4 years ago, how hard and challenging it is. So it is a very difficult thing, but it's like, you don't come in with it. You have people teach you, and it's learned over time.
Yeah, so you were kind of a mid-year out of high school. You graduated early, kind of left Cathedral Prep early. You know, how was that transition go in and start your career, not necessarily your career, but start your school early and kind of get the ball rolling with football? How are you able to be that successful that quickly?
You know, it's the mid-year process is very intense and very difficult. It's such a hard transition because when guys come in the summer, they start with 1 or 2 classes. They have more free time in the day. It's totally separate from what these mid guys feel when they're taking 5, 6 classes with workouts first thing in the morning, and then you're tired all day having to do those things. So it's really just what I was talking about earlier, being able to be focused and intentional with what you do. And it's basically that accumulation of all those difficult decisions gets you to a point where you're able to, you know, get on the field. And because most of the time it's trust, which is what gets you on the field early in your career, trust from your coaches that you're going to do what you're supposed to do. And a lot of times that comes from making small, you know, easy decisions over and over again the right way. And so when coaches are able to see that, that's going to, you know, give you more freedom to play on the field.
Awesome. That's pretty sweet stuff. You know, you talked a little bit about how Notre Dame's kind of changed you. What are the good ways that kind of Notre Dame's kind of changed you as you kind of, you know, coming in? We're all kind of like out of high school, we're kind of all kind of crazy, immature, like, you know, all this other things that, you know, we think, you know, we're all the man, you know, coming out of high school. We're practically our best player, except for me, because I had freaking 4 people who were way better than I was on my team, on our team.
You know, Notre Dame is the most humbling place that I've been a part of. Everything you do, basically, there's someone who's better than you, and it's pretty significant sometimes. So in the classroom, you're humbled by how smart and motivated these individuals are on the field. They're just some people who are freaks who are able to do things that I can't do. And, you know, you just kind of learn that, you know, you're kind of confident in high school. You're the man. But at Notre Dame, I learned how to be, you know, a leader that's not, you know, the main man on the field, that's not the most talented, but always was trying to be the hardest worker or the most trusted person. out there. So those are the type of things that you do, you know. Notre Dame has just shown me, because I've been fortunate enough to play a lot of football, but I've only started one game in 50 plus games. So it's just kind of learning how to humble yourself and how to, you know, kind of be where your feet are, keep your head down, and keep working towards this goal. And eventually, once that opportunity presents itself, you know, step up and be successful.
You know, Matty Bo, you've been playing in a lot of games, but you haven't really kind of you know, started or been you've been in big roles, but just not shown kind of, you know, to the outside world. How are you able to kind of embrace that role? Because you're a big time player on, you know, on certain downs and you know, special teams at a high school. You know, all these accolades, all these other things. How are you able to kind of accept that role of, you know, being you know, only on certain downs and not being able to start every game?
Yeah, you know, it's learning how to have a team first mentality. So one of the first things you got to realize coming into a program this successful is you got to do whatever you can that's best for the team. And sometimes that's not exactly what you want. And so when I came in my first year, yeah, I got to play in a lot of games, but there wasn't a lot of production and there wasn't a lot of significant snaps. But you have to recognize the importance of those things, because as that builds, it turned into more opportunities on special teams, which then turned into opportunities being the nickel linebacker on third down and, you know, rotating in at Mike linebacker for a lot of significant plays.
Yep.
Which then, you know, even more plays this last year, still playing special teams. And then hopefully this year, you know, year 5, you're starting in that position and, you know, you really feel like you've earned it. And it's just kind of being able to trust in the process and constantly having this, you know, team centric focus.
Yeah, is that kind of the goal leading into the fall here, is, you know, showing your abilities the best you can, kind of showing the world, hey, I've been here for, you know, 5 years.
Yeah, you know, I've been fortunate to, you know, make a lot of big plays, and you know, people have noticed me in the past 2 years, but you know, it's always you want to step up into those moments and be the guy. It's just really kind of like so much of accumulation of work that it's like, yeah, you want that, you know, that's the goal. As long as it's best for the team and being the guy and still being a leader and making sure that you're taking care of everybody else at the same time.
Awesome. What would you say your kind of leadership style is? You know, you've been there for, again, 5 years now. You know, what is kind of how do you lead? Are you a lead by example? You're kind of the vocal person there at Notre Dame. How are you kind of, you know, leading the team, especially after you've been there for such a long time?
Yeah, so you know, people say lead by example. Our program, lead by example, is the bare minimum leader. Basically, anybody at Notre Dame, especially any upperclassmen, could be considered a leader just by lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
Very high standard there. You know, we have leadership institutes we go to. We've had Navy SEALs, we've had the Navy SEAL Jocko Willings come, and we've had a lot of leadership conferences. And you know, it comes down to more things than that. So I always want to be a consistent communicator, somebody who does lead by example. But first and foremost, my main takeaway from being a leader is I want to be someone who makes other people better. You know, you don't want to always be the guy up front. You know, he gets the C on his chest and he's just a guy about himself. Like, you want to turn around and see all these guys becoming better individuals because, you know, you're pushing them. They see you do one extra rep in the weight room. Now that guy is behind you in your same lift group doing one extra rep and they're getting better. You want to see that extra film study. Somebody sees you in the film room. You bring them in, you sit down. That guy does something in the next game from that takeaway in the film session. You know, it's making other people better, which then will make the whole entire team better. And that's what the end goal is, to make the team as best as possible.
That's an awesome answer. I love to hear that from leaders, especially leaders kind of in the classroom, but also on the field or in the community as well. I think as student athletes, we all kind of drive to be the leaders in all three aspects of you know, the world. That's kind of why I kind of started up the podcast here, is being able to hopefully impact or change and make other people better by talking to great people just like you, where they might learn something from you or be able to implement other things, or just kind of see experiences that we're all kind of very similar. We, you know, we all get humbled at points, even, you know, people who've been 4 or 5 stars coming out of high school, stuff like that, just because, there's so many other people out there. But Matty Bo, what would you say? Kind of talk a little bit about, you've been able to play on some big time games, in the college football playoff and these big, Power Five, the New Year's Bowls, since you've been there at Notre Dame. Just talk a little bit about your experience and kind of, dealing with nerves, just because, well, every week, you guys you're playing one of the toughest schedules. You're playing teams, the best teams across the country, but on a national stage. But just talk a little bit about those experiences, being able to play in those big time games.
Yeah, since I've been here, we've been to 2 college football playoffs. We were really close this year. Still got to a New Year's Six bowl. So, we are in those big time games. We had overtime win against Florida State, prime time, first game of the season. So, we do get to play in a lot of those games. And people ask me, do you get nervous? Do you get nervous? The answer is yes. And I think it's perfectly okay to be nervous, no matter how much preparation, no matter how much learning, how much work you've put in, someone who's striving for perfection, it's never enough. And so I think really what nerves are when you walk into those moments, it's not the crowd, it's not TV, it's not the lights, it's more of, inner, I want to have success. Did I prepare enough? And the biggest motivator is, am I going to let my brother down? The guy standing next to me. Our units are so tight knit, defense, offense, the whole team, linebacker group, that when I look over at the Will, I want to make sure that he knows that I know what I'm doing and that we're going to be successful in that play. So it's really just a motivator, that nervous is, motivates me to never let my teammate down.
How cool is it to play in your guys' stadium in front of all those crazy Notre Dame fans that are coming from across the country, kind of every week, every Saturday, to come watch you guys? How surreal and how cool is being able to play in some of those really awesome games?
Yeah, Notre Dame, we got the best fans in the whole country, whole world. They're diehard. They love us. They support us, through thick and thin. They always fill up our stadium. They're always there for us. This year they've done some cool things where they'll turn the lights off during some of the timeouts, and they'll put the flashlights on their phone. But it does get pretty crazy and rocking. But over time, those type of things are energizing and can be a distraction. But as you get older, you learn to focus and kind of use that to your gain. But Notre Dame Stadium has an atmosphere like no other, and we got the best fans.
That's pretty sweet. So of course, Matty Bo, the goal is to, hopefully be able to make it to the NFL and mark your name and be able to do that. But what kind of is your, I don't like to say plan B, because, I think that it's important to chase for your goals 100% and do whatever. But, you also have to understand that, hey, the NFL, stands for not for long. The average lifespan in the NFL is not very long. So is there a certain field or anything that your degree or anything that you're kind of just, passionate about outside of, the NFL?
Yeah, so I graduated with a degree in finance, which from Notre Dame usually means going to investment banking. I don't see any problem with that. I think it's a really cool career path. You make a lot of money, but I kind of, after working so hard with football, I kind of decided that, I'm going to strive for the NFL. But after, the one thing I kind of fell in love with was traveling, making those new experiences. In May 2019, I went to South Africa to study abroad, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I have a couple friends here international. One of them from London took us to his home in London. We got to experience that whole thing. So through that, I kind of decided like, hey, I want to do something international. I have no idea what I want to do, but my career development guy in the past couple of weeks kind of put me in contact with this company called Backroads, which is a luxury tour company. They operate in 40 countries. So basically you go to a country for 9 months and you help give backpacking and biking tours, and you stay in really cool places. But for me, it's, getting the experience, the culture, getting to, share my passion of travel and fitness with these people. And so right now that's my backup plan. So
what was the culture like in South Africa, and just being able to kind of able to take some classes and be able to kind of experience South Africa in full circle?
Man, the class was kind of heavy. It was on racism in South Africa. So I don't know if you know about apartheid, but those people went through some serious stuff, and it's kind of heart wrenching because it's pretty recent. So we actually got to hear from people who went through it. But the class taught you a lot about that and about culture. But more on the positive side, South Africa is such a beautiful country. Like from Cape Town to Joburg, it's an amazing place with so many cool things you wouldn't see here. One of my best friends from college here actually is from South Africa. So hopefully one day I'll go back with him. But the culture there, the people are so nice. My first day I woke up and I was just having a chat with somebody on the rooftop, and he was more than happy to share his perspectives. And we got to meet so many wonderful people and travel the countryside, and I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, it sounds like I've seen some videos and pictures of some places. There's some places around the world that I think everyone needs to go see. I think also get an outside perspective on different cultures. You can come back and almost, I wouldn't say appreciate, but have a different mindset on different cultures around the world, and how take good parts of their culture and be able to try to implement, I think, in the United States, because we're all melting pot. We're all come from different spots. I think that's a pretty cool aspect of things. But going back to the NFL, what have you learned? There's been a lot of guys, at Notre Dame that have been able to kind of make the jump in the NFL. What have you kind of learned from them as you were kind of watching them, kind of as at their time at Notre Dame, and be able to kind of flourish in the NFL?
Yeah, those guys first foremost are definitely gifted to play football, but most of them are also some of the hardest workers I've ever met. So it's not one without the other for a lot of people. They work super hard, and then they tell me once they get there, yeah, you don't have class, but you're still working out all day. You're training, you're sitting in the film room. It's a lot of work. So you're really working for that paycheck you're getting every week. And unlike college football, where we end, November, they're going a whole nother month at the minimum to play till December, through December, and then more in the playoffs if their team's doing well. So, I was just talking to a guy the other day, and he said, maybe day to day is not as difficult as college was, but it's a marathon of a season. So it's them learning. They're always telling me you got to learn, be open. I mean, guys who've been in the league for a long time learn niches and learn how to do things a specific way, and it's just being able to adapt and be where your feet are.
What was it like, especially with you guys having like a conference, being in a conference and being in a conference championship? What is it like kind of taking that 3-4 weeks off after you guys finish your last game and be able to try to go compete, especially when you guys were in the playoff? What was it kind of like, classes and football wise, not really playing a game and being out of that routine for a while?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really even feel like it was that big of a difference because during the COVID season, we were in the ACC.
Yeah.
So we played in the ACC championship game. Ended up playing the same amount of games anyways, and basically had the same amount of time off. So usually it's about you get a couple of days off, and then you have a week of like weight room training. Then you go right back on the field to some pretty intense bowl prep. Especially this year, Coach Freeman really had us getting after it, real passionate guy. And it was a lot of fun. Bowl prep's a pretty fun time because you don't have to worry about school. So it's just, focus on ball.
Would you say it's a little bit kind of like a camp to start when you're out of school and stuff, where you guys are have your kind of full day kind of packed with stuff?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The practices aren't as long, but they're almost equally as intense, and it's definitely camp style. You get there first thing in the morning, work out, go to practice, watch your film, go home, then repeat the next day.
Again. Yeah. Would you say a little bit kind of like you guys don't have a conference, you guys are traveling kind of you're traveling practically almost every other week to across the country? How is that kind of like kind of being able to have that, especially with your class schedule and missing class time and doing all these other things that that you guys are just traveling constantly? Do you think that kind of helps you guys to with adversity, but also help you guys if you guys make it to the NFL, because these guys are traveling constantly every other week?
Yeah, I mean, they teach us how to deal with it. we have our program focuses a lot on routines. So you'll see people do the same exact thing every time they get on the plane, every time they get into their hotel room, just to like kind of make it the same way, help them focus and help them prepare. So we really focus on our travel routines to get us, properly in our mindset. And yeah, it's definitely difficult with school. I can't speak to the other colleges, but I know the business school doesn't have class on Fridays usually. They usually have the Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Wednesday schedule. So when we're leaving on Fridays, usually not a class conflict, but being the hard part is, you travel Friday, you're there all day Saturday, and then it's flying back and getting home at 6 in the morning, 4 in the morning, having to wake up and do homework all Sunday. That's where the real challenge is.
Do you guys have like Sundays off and then have stuff on Monday? Do you guys have like Sunday like lift and film, and then do you guys have Monday off, or is it do you guys have Sundays off, or does it depend when you guys get back from where you're at?
Yeah, usually it's Sundays off where you recover, do all your recovery type of deals. And a lot of guys, it's not required, but a lot of guys will go watch the games together, get an idea, so that when we go in on Monday, where we watch all of our film and work out, we've already have an idea of what our coach is going to talk about. And then, then we actually get what he says about it. And it's much different from like coaching when you're in high school, where it's like coach tells you, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
And at least in Notre Dame, it's more of a conversation. Like, why are we doing this? Why am I making this call? What's this adjustment really doing? And it's not questioning the coach. It's like getting a reasoning, because sometimes it's like, oh, we could do it better this way, or it makes sense if we do it this way a bit more. And then at the end of the day, you're just not memorizing terms and stuff and formations. You got reasons why you're doing things.
Have you been able to do any kind of like hunting or camping out at your kind of your farm out in Harbor Creek since you've been in, or you just been so busy?
Oh man, I've barely ever been home. I go home for Christmas, and then maybe one other time a year.
Wow.
So, yeah, I don't get to go home very much.
Have you kind of embraced the home of kind of South Bend then, of kind of just that community, and kind of you guys are kind of like a college town?
Yeah, when you first get here, you always use the word home to talk about where you came from, kind of school was here. As you get older and, you make these lifelong relationships with your friends and your coaches and your friends, even, not on the team, that's kind of turns into your community and those people that you love, and it'll quickly become home. You miss actual home sometimes, but my family comes up for most of the games, so I get to see them quite often.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Well, Matty Bo, thanks for coming on the TO show. We appreciate you kind of coming on and talk a little bit about your experience at Notre Dame, and kind of giving some tips and helping hopefully some other student athletes you do it at the highest level, from academics and the athletic side. So we appreciate you coming on, and hey, good luck this semester, and good luck if I don't talk to you before the season starts. Good luck this year. We'll be watching any games that we get the opportunity to, and hopefully we see you in the NFL next year.
Hey, you too, brother. Appreciate you having me on, and hopefully we'll see you on Sports Center again soon.
We'll see. Who knows? We'll see. All right, guys. Well, if you guys haven't already, just like and subscribe the channel, and just help and support, and keep things rolling. Until then, peace.